What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another post-game show here on Mets Central. And the New York Mets give us a heart attack, but they hold on to win 6-5 over the Miami Marlins in extra innings. This was a game that probably should not have been as close as it was, given the fact that the Mets played piss poor defense. But the Mets find a way with this offense, especially one Pete Alonso, who really put the team on his back today and carried this team to a win. And the Mets get the job done going into Citi Field now with a 3-3 record. Call us prophets, call us whatever you want. We predicted this one to go exactly how it would. It didn't exactly look the best like we thought it would, maybe, because they should have manhandled this Marlins team. But either way, they end up getting 2 wins, winning this series against the Marlins, which was crucial. On your way into the post-game show, or if you're watching on replay, leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel, especially if you're Met fans, and turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live on the channel. We will just be breaking down this game tomorrow. There will be a podcast episode. But Matt, what a chaotic game.
God, I mean, it's game 6 and they're already doing this to us, but I mean, yeah, listen, I'm happy to win, and I'm happy to take the series as well, 2 out of 3, but God, ugly, 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 ugly. Just a whole lot of ugly. I mean,
Yeah.
the offensive from Pete Alonso today was god awful, but thank God that he stepped up and hit that big 3-run home run in the 8th inning. I mean, the defense as well, just ugly, ugly as well all around. Clay Holmes pitched today, and I know I say that now, but that game took forever, and there was so many up and downs in that game that it felt like he pitched yesterday. But I thought he pitched pretty well, to be honest, even though he didn't get much help from the defense. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, and I was about to say too that I think every emotion that you can feel in a season, we felt in that game, and it was all over the place. So many up and downs, but yeah, hopefully now they go to Citi Field now for the home opener, and hopefully that gets a couple of guys to wake up.
Yeah, let's break down Clay Holmes' outing first, just because of the fact that even though it was a long time ago, it let's just start there, just because of the fact that I think it is, something to take away here, just because there are going to be Met fans that are panicking still with the way that he's been pitching, and he honestly was fine up until he wasn't in. I mean, the bottom of the first, he faced a little bit of trouble, but he still did a good job getting his way out of that one, and then it was really the third inning where you saw him struggle, but it was also a lot on the defense in this game here. Just like that first pitch to Xavier Edwards that Edwards was able to, get a single on. That one, it's hard to get mad at him. Like, that's a pitch that Edwards probably shouldn't have hit
Yeah,
there. No excuse, though, to walk the next batter on 4 pitches, which this was something that Clay Holmes, I'm not thrilled with his outing, is that he did struggle a little bit with his command. It was all over the place, though, because he was falling behind quickly in counts at points, and it really drove the pitch count up yet again on him. But then you had that single that went to center field that Taylor just couldn't keep track of there. A good defensive play there maybe changes things. Beatty even on that one with Edwards there. And then you have the sacrifice fly there, and then the fielder's choice where Mark Vientos, man, he had a really rough day both on both sides of the field. But we'll start with his defense, just saying that was terrible there, which gave the Marlins the lead. But he settled in, got the 2 strikeouts, and then he unfortunately did face a little bit of trouble in the 5th inning, allowed a couple of singles there. But yeah, I mean, you look at the baseline numbers, would you have liked them to give you 5 innings? Yeah, I think that goes without saying, but 6 strikeouts, at least he cut back the walks a little bit, but he definitely did fall behind a little bit too far in counts, and there was a little too much contact for my likings, and I think some of that, and you can tell me if you disagree here, I feel like personally some of it was pitch sequencing. I feel like he needs to find a way to mix his pitches a little bit better, because there are times I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, he's got to throw the kick change here, and then he goes to the sinker, or like go to the cutter to jam him inside, and then he goes to the sinker, and it's like, I get that the sinker has got you as far as it has, but you got to utilize some of those new pitches better, especially the sweeper too. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the sweeper, but what are your thoughts there? Because he didn't generate enough swing and misses, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I personally thought Clay Holmes was fine. I mean, he did get into some trouble in the first inning, was able to get out of it, was fine in the second, but again, it was that third inning, and I mean, apart from the walk, like you can't really blame that inning on Clay Holmes because even like last year we talked about like he had a couple meltdowns with the Yankees, but really when you look at it, like half of those meltdowns were caused just by overall bad defense, and again, it cost him like the Xavier Edwards one. I mean, you can't blame him. He throws a cutter in on his hand and he just executes a really good drag bunt. Like there's no one's fault there. He just executed it well. The walk to Stowers wasn't great, but then you let up. You have the fly out to center field. Tyrone Taylor completely misplays it, and then the Mark Vientos throw. I mean, I got flashbacks to Game 5 of Lucas Duda in the World Series. It's just from the opposite side of the field, just because that one was at first base and that was at third base. I mean, Mark Vientos. I mean, we'll get into it on the podcast tomorrow, but he's had a rough start to the season. He really has, and but yeah, other than that, I thought Clay Holmes was fine because, and I agree with you on the pitch sequencing, but I think that's just still like him getting used to starting and
Adjusting, yeah.
stuff. It's that will ultimately fix itself. But I mean, overall from the line, 4 2/3, I would have liked him to get out of the fifth inning, and I think right now they are kind of limiting his pitch count because they took him out at around 85 pitches. So I think if this was like Clay Holmes middle of the season, I do think we would have seen him go a little bit farther. But listen, it's fine. 4 2/3. 6 hits. Would you like to see him limit that a little bit? Yeah, but 2 runs, 1 earned run because the other one was an error. 2 walks, which is nice, and then 6 strikeouts. So overall, I thought he was fine. And then yeah, I mean, you talk about like because like we talked about on the last podcast how he really had to change the usage of his arsenal, and I mean he really did because when you compare it, he threw 44 sinkers against the Astros. Today he only threw 21. The kick change he only threw it 4 times. Today he threw it 20. The cutter in his first start he only threw it 5 times. Threw it 18 times, and then the sweeper, which you brought up, which generates a lot of his swings and misses. He didn't really throw that a lot today, which kind of disappointed me because when he executes that sweeper, it's probably his best pitch. I mean, he threw that pitch 26 times in the first outing, and then he only threw it 12 times today. So I did like to see him, or I like that he used a lot more of his arsenal today. But listen, he's still adjusting. But overall, I would say a solid performance by Clay Holmes. It was just unfortunate with him that he didn't get the defense to back him up.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just what it is. Like you said, he's really reliant on good defense, and for a team that played such good defense last year, it's really unfortunate that I feel like within the span of these first 6 games, they've played, they've made as many mistakes as they did all of last season. And obviously, that's hyperbole because over the course of 162, I'm sure that it was actually more if you look back and count. But I just mean in terms of it feeling that way because last year this team we were raving about how much better they were defensively compared to previous seasons, and that's because of the guys that Stearns acquired. But this week it just feels like they've made so many more mistakes than they did all of last season. But yeah, Clay Holmes ended up giving a very respectable outing. And then, of course, you had Reed Garrett who came in. And this, unfortunately, was the first time the bullpen did look shaky all of the season. Reed Garrett wasn't an issue at all. He definitely dealt with a little bit more contact than he did in his previous outing. But still, overall, it's fine what you got from Reed Garrett. Maybe leaving a little bit too much over the plate there. Splitter, though, still looked good. And again, you got what you needed from him. AJ Minter, I don't know what to say about what happened in that 7th inning because he allows that double, gets the strikeout, and then you have him just trip on the mound to allow that balk there. Then you have the single from Lopez and Mark Vientos yet again with another just terrible play. He needs to let that ball go foul. And even worse, he thought it did go foul, so he stopped and didn't have a play at first or at the plate. That made it 3-1, and then gets that ground out. Ryan Stanek comes in, allows a little bit of contact, allows a walk, got the strikeout. I will say, even though it was a little shaky for Stanek, I personally think he should have got maybe a few batters the next inning to help save the bullpen going forward. But I get hindsight is what it is, especially because of the fact that you didn't know where this game was going to go after what happened in the 8th inning. But yeah, just in terms of Diaz gave us a heart attack as well. You had a heart attack from Danny Young in the 10th, which we'll talk about. But first, I want to rewind a little bit because I want to talk about the offense, which led to where it got to it. You had Pete Alonso get that RBI double to drive in Soto in the first inning, and it's like, wow, back-to-back hits. Who knew that was possible? Then the bats went cold for pretty much the rest of the game. Garbage plate approaches by pretty much everyone in the lineup. A lot of first pitch swinging. Brett Beatty just taking ugly at bats. Senja had that double, though, for his first major league hit, which was pretty nice. And I thought, all right, top of the order coming through, maybe. Did not happen. But then you get to the eighth inning, and it felt like if the Mets did not score here, and in hindsight, it's true, they were not going to win this game. After Taylor grounds out, Luis Torrens comes up the pitch hit, gets a single. Lindor gets a huge base hit, which was nice. Soto hits it to that fielder's choice. But then Pete Alonso ties this game with a home run, dead center field, and Nimmo grounds out. But that's how he got there. But your thoughts on the offense leading up to that point? Because, again, just a lot of ugly.
Yeah, disgusting. But you know, you got to give major credit to Pete Alonso because he was easily the MVP of this series. They do not win this series without Pete Alonso. I mean, we talk about the grand slam in the first game to break the game open, and then this game where it looked like the offense was it was going to be another game of, you know, tons of missed opportunities, can't get nothing going, and then, we clowned Alonso last year for not being clutch. Well, I mean, I know it's early, it's 6 games in, but so far he's probably had the two biggest home runs the two biggest home runs of the year, apart from Soto and Houston. But I mean, and another thing, like we talked about it last podcast, but his at bats have been excellent. You know, his eye, his plate division, his plate approach. I mean, maybe I can think of 1 or 2 at bats where he's kind of, chased and swung and missed a little bit. But other than that, I've thought his approach so far at the start of the year has been excellent. I mean, even at that on the at bat where he hit the home run, I mean, he kind of stretched and got some pitches on the outside part of the plate where probably last year Pete Alonso strikes out, and that's the end of the inning. But he was able to foul him off, and then weirdly enough, though, a lot of his hits and home runs so far has been on the outside part of the plate. And I mean, we talk about the Devin Williams home run that he took deep last year with the changeup on the outside part of the plate. But all 3 of his hits today were on the outside part of the plate. A changeup, cutter for the second double, and then a 4-seamer outside of the plate a mid, and he just took it to deep center. And Pete Alonso, he just loves hitting in Marlins Park. That's where he hit his first home run. So yeah, he's just been huge this series, and hopefully, like I said before, now with the Mets going to Citi Field and for the home opener, hopefully a lot of these guys need to wake up because, I mean, even though Lindor got a base hit today, he had a lot of ugly at bats today. Soto didn't have a great series either. Nimmo, I thought he was good in the first 2 games, wasn't great today. Vientos just has been completely lost, and yeah, and then also, I mean, shout out to Luis Torrens also because he's been really good so far in the absence of Francisco Alvarez. I mean, he came in again, got that base hit like you mentioned, and then again later in the innings threw a guy out attempting to steal. So he's just been incredibly clutch, Luis Torrens.
Yeah, the only at bats really that were good were literally where they actually got hits or got on base, because you had that Jesse Winker 4-pitch walk, which I thought maybe was actually going to start something. It did not. But either way, yeah, just uncompetitive at bats, which continue. But let's talk about the 8th inning now, where Edwin Diaz came into the game. He allows that single, the stolen base then from Edwards, and a wild pitch. I think every single Met fan thought this is going to end ugly right then and there. He gets the strikeout, and then, man, that play there at the plate, talk about a heart attack there with Brett Beatty throwing it offline. But thankfully, Luis Torrens was able to get the tag, and the challenge ended up being overturned, and that was out. And then Luis Torrens, who, after applying that beautiful tag, and like you mentioned, played great defense, guns a guy out at second base. No offense to Hayden Sanger. If he's back there, the Mets probably lose this game, honestly, in the 9th inning right then and there after they go down in order. But thankfully, Luis Torrens was back there. Jose Budo gave 2 good innings. And, it's unfortunate because in the 10th inning, they had an opportunity to run 2 base runners. They don't end up cashing in. The bottom of the 10th inning got a little bit scary as well, but Lindor gunning a guy down as well. And then the ninth inning, or the ninth inning, the 11th inning rather, you have that walk from Pete Alonso. Nimmo with a single. Winker ends up walking. That brings a run in. Vientos, though, hits into a fielder's choice 6-4. Acuna, though, double play, and Taylor flies out. And I thought right then and there with Danny Young coming in, I'm not going to lie, I lost faith because how do you not score more runs there in the 11th? I don't know. And then the most confusing thing is why is Danny Young in the game instead of giving Budo another inning with the off day tomorrow? Or why not go to Brazaban, who warmed up after one batter in that inning? If Brazaban was available, why not start with him? Thankfully, Danny Young gave at least one out after giving us a heart attack. And then, sorry, the Rangers just let in a funny goal. And then Brazaban, though, comes in, gets the job done beautifully, and the Mets end up winning this game after giving us a heart attack. But your thoughts on the extra innings and the final few frames there?
Brett Beatty needs to be sent to Mars. I'm so done with this guy already. I don't care that it's 6 games. It's been 3 years basically, and the guy looks lost at the plate, and his defense is just terrible. I mean, listen, I get it. It's a stressful play that you got to make it on throw. But if you want to be a major league caliber second baseman, I'm sorry, you have to make that throw online. And major credit to Luis Torrens. I mean, originally when I saw it, I thought the guy was out, and then when they really slowed it down, because even like Gary and Keith were confused in the booth, but I was like, yeah, Torrens got him on the forearm before his fingers touched home plate. So I was like, thank God with that one. But then I mean, yeah, you had the bases loaded. What was it in the 10th inning? They couldn't get any runs across. Then they were able to get some.
It was the 11th. They had the bases loaded. The 10th, they had 2 guys on.
Okay, yeah,
with
10th,
no outs.
The 10th, yeah, they had 2 guys on with no outs. They couldn't get. And then the 11th, thankfully, they were able to get a couple guys on. Budo, I thought was really good, and we're going to discuss it more tomorrow, but Carlos Mendoza is he's made some really shaky decisions so far with the bullpen, and just overall, I mean, like I said, we'll talk about it, but even in the second game yesterday with substituting Beatty in for Acuna, but it just going to Danny Young there makes no sense. And I have no problem taking out Jose Budo, because I know it's early, but we have seen him last year when they do kind of try to stretch him out to 3 innings or more. He does tend to more struggle in those later innings. So I didn't have a problem with taking Budo out there. I just had no idea why he went to Danny Young, especially when Brazaban was right there, because my original thinking was, okay, maybe because I know Brazaban went multiple innings in the first game of this year. So I thought, okay, maybe he's not available to go. But then once Danny Young comes in and he's walking a couple guys, giving up a couple base hits, and I see Brazaban warming up in the pen, I'm like, so why the fuck did you just not go to Brazaban then in the first place? It just made no sense. But I mean, thankfully, Danny Young was at least able to record 1 out, and then Brazaban comes in, finishes off the game. But yeah, I mean, just overall, like we talked about it at the start of the post game, just ugly all around, from defense, offense, managerial decisions. But
the umpire,
the umpire, the umpiring was just ugly this whole series, to be honest. I mean, none of them I thought had good games, to be honest.
Even in Houston.
Yeah. So, but at least they were able to get this win and salvage the series. But, stressful.
Yeah, that was the they got to switch to the ABS system for the regular season. It has to happen because there's just way too much right now going on that is just terrible. And it's not even close with some of these calls, but that's a rant for another day. I think I'll rant more about that tomorrow on the podcast when we got more time. But we are going to probably wrap it up here just because I don't want to go too long with the post game. I also have to watch my favorite hockey team right now. But yeah, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Because I think we summed it up perfectly. Just an ugly win, but very happy that they got it, because it would feel really weird if they lost that game coming back to Citi Field for the home opener, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, this game that had so much action where it could have been its own podcast episode alone, but yeah, I didn't want to say too much just because I wanted to save some for tomorrow, but yeah, I mean, we'll see you guys tomorrow, obviously, for the podcast series wrap up.
Yep, 100%. So tune in tomorrow. Thank you, everyone that watched. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel, especially if you're Mets fans. Turn on your notifications so you know when we upload or go live on the channel here. And we'll see you guys in the next one.